Hi there, this is Ranjit, and in this video, we will be doing the review for this high-end Wi-Fi router from ASRock known as the G10. And I have been testing this router now for over a month, and I have to say the performance of this router is actually pretty good. And before I share you my experience, let me just give you an idea about the router itself. And again, it's a high-end router and supporting dual band Wi-Fi both on the 2.4 gigahertz as well as the 5 gigahertz bands. And here are the specs. It's a pretty powerful router. It has a dual core processor. It also has beamforming, and it has 8 internal antennas and USB 3 ports. And it also has this unique dongle, which is actually a separate product itself. I don't know why this ASRock includes this one. I'll talk about that later. It just fits inside the router like this. And I have to say, a router for me is a very important device because it connects all the other devices in your home or your office. And I have to say, when I was using this router for over a month, I just completely forgot about the router, and that's a good thing because it was performing so well. But before I give you the strengths and weakness of this router, let me give you an idea about its admin interface. So this is the admin panel of this ASRock G10 router, and I feel the interface is actually very cartoony. It looks like it was made about 5 years ago. This gives you a basic idea that you're connected to the internet, your router status, number of clients that are connected, if you have hard drives etc attached to the USB port, that'll be shown over here. So this is the basic mode. You can switch on the parental controls or the guest accounts using this. If you enter this, you go to the advanced option, and here you can set other options. By default, the router will be in the wireless router mode, but you can also set it up as a repeater if required. Regarding the gaming boost, this is what ASRock is talking about, and it's enabled by default, and I also had this auto update on all the time, and for the most part I have to say it works very well. I did quite a bit of gaming also with this router, for example on PS4 and even on Xbox One. I also did remote gaming using my Surface Pro 4, and I was streaming the games from Xbox One and playing multiplayer games. Then also it handled it very well without any latency issues on the Wi-Fi AC 5 gigahertz band. So in terms of gaming, the performance was very good, and I didn't have to even tinker around with quality of surface and stuff like that. So it works pretty well with gaming in my opinion. And we have some basic parental controls and firewall controls. But one thing that I've found peculiar with this router is that if you change any setting and apply, it'll ask for a reboot. For example, if you say, as you can see, it'll ask for a reboot. So this is a very peculiar thing with this router. So you have to be aware of that. You should hit later. Otherwise, with every setting that you change, it'll ask for a reboot. And that can be a really tiring procedure in my opinion. It also has USB, and you can plug in your thumb drives and even hard drives. And I did test it with DLNA servers, and it worked perfectly with my WDTV and other DLNA clients. So the USB functionality works pretty well, and the DLNA server actually works very well on this device. But in terms of transfer speeds from the USB port, it was pretty averaging between 30 to 35 megabits. Now let me actually talk about the performance of this router. And it's a dual band router. That means it supports the 2.4 gigahertz band, which is actually a lot more common, and most Wi-Fi devices support that. But it also supports the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi band with AC support, which is actually a lot faster. Moving to the 2.4 gigahertz band, I would say the performance was good, but not among the best. If I have to compare it, just a couple of months ago, I reviewed some of the other routers also I tested. For example, the high-end Linksys AC 3200. And I would say its 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi band is better than the Linksys AC 3200 model. And it's almost similar to the D-Link AC 3200, which I again reviewed a couple of months back. But again, if we compare it with the ASUS 87U CPU has better Wi-Fi range on the 2.4 gigahertz band. In fact, I would say it has the best range that I have tested in high-end routers. But when we move to the 5 gigahertz AC band, here generally most of the routers, for example, let's say the range that you get on the 2.4 gigahertz band is 100%. Generally, the Wi-Fi AC range is pretty limited, and generally most of the routers top out at about just 60% of the range that you might get with the 2.4 gigahertz if we take into account the 5 gigahertz. So generally the Wi-Fi AC band which works on the 5 gigahertz band has a lower range, but here this ASRock G10 router really excelled, and I have to say the Wi-Fi AC range on the 5 gigahertz band was almost 80, it covered almost 80% of the range compared to the 2.4 gigahertz band, which is actually pretty impressive. And in my flat, it covered the entire 1700 square feet with Wi-Fi AC band, which was comparable to the ASUS 87U. It also has similar Wi-Fi performance on the 5 gigahertz band. But in terms of throughput, I have to say the performance was actually very good and one of the best that I have seen. For example, just look at this. Now, to give you an idea regarding the actual speeds that I can get on the 5 gigahertz AC band, this is my MacBook Pro, and if you look at the Wi-Fi, as you can see, I'm connected over Wi-Fi AC band, and I'm connected at 1300 megabit speeds. That's the max that my MacBook Pro supports. And let's do some file transfer. For example, this is my NAS. And these are some files on my NAS, so we will just transfer this. This is a 2.7 gigabyte file, and let's monitor the speed. So I'm just going to drag it here, and it's being done over this Wi-Fi. And as you can see, just notice this pointer and notice the speeds that we are touching around 600 megabits per second over this Wi-Fi AC bands. It generally hovers around 580 to 600 megabits per second for large files. So as you can see, even the Wi-Fi AC speeds in real world are actually very good. In fact, I'm very impressed regarding the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi speeds I'm getting with this router. So to sum it up, I would say it has excellent throughput on the Wi-Fi AC 5 gigahertz band, and I have to rate it almost 10 on 10. It was one of the best experience I had with Wi-Fi AC on the 5 gigahertz band, particularly taking into account the range that I was getting and the decent throughput even at extended range. Now moving to the gaming, this ASRock calls this a gaming router. I would say it's just a fancy word. It does quality of service automatically if it detects gaming in your network. And I did test it. Again, it worked pretty well. I did a lot of gaming with Xbox One, PS4, and it ran fine. Now moving to some of the special features that this router has. This router actually has a IR blaster, so you can use your smartphones to control IR devices. For example, I tested it with this Nexus 6P, and let me show you how it works. So here is my Android phone. This is a Nexus 6P which does not have a IR blaster, but using this ASRock router, you have to just download this app that's freely available and list your router once you've logged in, and you just click here and you can change your router settings. If you just click here, it goes to the admin settings where you can change all the settings, but this is the IR controller. If you click on this, these are the devices that I have configured, and if I just hit this, it takes a second and sends that IR code, and now my TV will be switched on. So this is how it works, I would say. But the thing that I've noticed is that we can add only 6 IR codes to this app, and that is very restrictive. For example, I could even configure it with my AC, that's a Daikin AC, to switch it on and off, but only 6 commands can be added. Now to conclude, I would say this is a great router, particularly for the 5 gigahertz AC band. The performance was actually very good, and also for gaming it performs very well in my opinion. I also like the fact that it has that IR blaster functionality, but I don't know why ASRock has just limited to 6 devices. And I simply do not like the fact that this router comes with this extra dongle because this is just a separate device. And yes, I tested Miracast functionality with this one and it worked fine. But again, this adds to the cost of the router. If this was a separate accessory, ASRock could have lowered the price of this router. I'll talk about the pricing later on. And also in terms of the stability, the router was rock stable. I did not have any issues of rebooting or overheating with this router. Now moving to a little bit of cons with this router, I would say the admin interface was not up to the mark in my opinion. It was not that modern, because generally now with ASUS routers and even Synology routers, the admin interface is a lot easier to work. So ASRock really needs to work on the admin interface. Also in terms of the USB port, USB port works very well, but in terms of the raw transfer speeds, even with USB 3 hard drives, the speeds were pretty average in my opinion. Lastly, coming to the price, this is a pretty expensive router. In US, it retails for around $250. So certainly on the expensive side. But again, I feel the Wi-Fi performance on this router, particularly on the 5 GHz AC band, was very good. And if I have to rate this router, I would give it a rating of 8 out of 10. I hope you found this video review helpful. If you found it helpful, I'll appreciate if you can click the like button. And if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. This is Ranjit and I hope to see you in my next video.